Let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and the county assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom we will be pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled. We grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in soldiers and faithful manners to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our county and of those whose interests you committed to our charge. Amen. Clerk, take us through the order of the day.
Order paper number 87 of today, Thursday, 29th June 2023 at 2:30 p.m. Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I've got 2 communications to make. Number 1, I want to communicate to you that I've been informed that the sports ground have been opened for practice for the members. You recall that we had communicated earlier that CASA Games is coming in August, and you were to liaise with the sports committee, Honorable James Were, because Honorable Nancy Matara is still down. She's still not well. So you'll ask with Honorable James Were, get your disciplines, and you can start practicing immediately. The sports ground has been opened, it has been authorized for training. So please take note. Number 2 is to communicate the Pinyiluo extravaganza that starts on 30th June 2023 to 1st July 2023. The event will be held in Homa Bay, and all members have been invited to attend. Coincidentally, I did communicate that I gazetted the 30th of Friday. I mean the 30th of June 2023, that will be Friday, for purposes of discussing the budget report and the appropriations bill. I have sent the apology of Kisumu County for 30th, so I want to request that we avail ourselves for the discussion on the budget. Then those who want to go on in the evening after completing, or those who want to go on fast, because I know fast is the critical day. So please take note that your apology has been sent by me through the technical team for the said event. I also want to request the chair budget that you ensure that you follow up with the executive on the necessary documentations required for tomorrow's proceedings. Otherwise, I want to welcome you for this session. Clerk, next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Next order. Oh, I've noticed, Honorable Chair Budget, Clerk, we need to go back a bit on the papers. Papers.
Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Joachim Okech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you seem to be moving very fast, and I know
Proceed,
you-
Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You know you are a young speaker, so. Thank you very
Honorable
much.
Chair, have you grown old? Man? You are really struggling to get the.
No, I was looking for the order paper. I've been struggling to get it, so that I am able to lay the.
I want to assist you with a hard copy.
Yes. My phone, Mr. Speaker, you know, this boy is from Kondele, misbehaved with my phone. But now it's working. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 182, Part 6 of the Kisumu County Assembly, I wish to today table 29th June 2023, report by the County Budget and Appropriation Committee on consideration of the proposed Kisumu County budget estimates for the financial year 2023-2024. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I confirm receipt of the report from the Select Committee on County Budget and Appropriation on its consideration of the estimates of revenues and expenditures for financial year 2023-2024 and the medium term as tabled by the Honorable Joachim Okech, Chairperson of the said committee. I want to advise that this report be given consideration by the House Business Committee for purposes of scheduling for debate. Honorable Chair, Budget, I also want to advise that you send the report to members early enough so that they go through it for purposes of effective debate when it's scheduled for debate. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Joachim Okech.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, Honorable Chele is really interfering with me here. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Section 45, Part 1, I wish to give a notice of motion that this House adopt the report by Budget and Appropriation Committee on consideration of the proposed Kisumu County budget estimate for the financial year 2023-2024. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
The statement time. Honorable Moses Ochele, you know, I'm used to seeing you seated somewhere. You know, there's a reason why sometimes it's important that you sit in your seat so that it's easier to locate you. But
Next time, Chair, I'll obey that, Mr. Speaker.
so what does it proceed?
Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of Joint Committee on Planning, Urban Planning and Lands and JLAC. The House tasked the Joint Committee, Mr. Speaker, to conduct a mission on Nyamlori traders versus the Kisumu County, Kisumu City. Mr. Speaker, we were to table a report today for phase 1, and just because the committee had decided to do a site visit today, Mr. Speaker, this morning the Joint Committee had the privilege of visiting Nyamlori trading site and there were a lot of developing issues. The report in itself, Mr. Speaker, has been done, and we were ready to table it today. But going by what we observed on the site and based on certain documents which we requested to be presented before the committee and which have not been brought, Mr. Speaker, we think that it is prudent that the House gives us time to receive the documents, and we also analyze what we observed at Nyamlori Market during the site visit. And we expect this document to be brought to the Assembly next week. And so if we get the documents, Mr. Speaker, we go through them, analyze, and come up with a comprehensive report for phase 1. If they also wish, give us leave to present it next week before we adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before I give opportunity for any member who want to comment on that is, I want to bring to the attention of members that the matter that Honorable Moses Ochela is presenting was as a result of a petition that was brought in the House by a group of traders from Nyamlori. But Honorable members, I want to make it clear that we need to look at our standing orders on petitions. And I think it starts from standing order number 2009. Number 209 on public petitions. Standing order number 209. And the first one is on meaning of petition, submission of petition, and it even gives the format in which petitions are done. Honorable members, it needs to be clear that petitions is one way that members get avenue to represent the views of their electorates in the House, because not all members of the public can be in this House. In the same standing orders and the different statutes, once a petition comes, it's worked on and the reply is made to the petitioners. It has come to my attention that some members feel that the manner in which the petition was brought in the House or discussed is probably not in line with what they feel. When a matter comes to the House, it's not about what a member feels, but what the public prays for. So long as it is within the threshold of the format provided for in the standing order. I also want to remind members to go through that same section and realize that in the same format, if there is any petition that comes from the public and do not meet the threshold, it is the responsibility of the Assembly through the office of the clerk to assist the petitioner in ensuring that the petition is done in the right format. And in that assistance, it is basically based on the prayers that the petitioner has. That one you will find in third schedule of our standing order, which is basically general form of a public petition. So it is not in order for any member to insinuate that if the Assembly assists any petitioner to ensure that their petition is the form required is out of order. That is not right, and that is actually misleading the public. Otherwise, based on the information that Honorable Moses Ochele on behalf of the Joint Committee have presented, is there any member who want to give an opinion? They have requested that we give them time based on the new developments that they present their report next week. Any opinion? If none, it's still statement time. Next order.
Commencement of business. Order number 8, motion. Adoption of the report by ECD, Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on consideration of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023 Kisumu County Bills number 1 of 2023 by the Honorable Seth Okumu.
Honorable Seth Okumu.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move a motion on a report on our consideration of the Technical Vocational Education and Training Bill from the Committee of ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training. Honorable Speaker and members, the Kisumu County Technical Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023 was read for the first time on 2nd May 2023 and subsequently referred to the Sectoral Committee on ECD, Adult Education and Vocational Training for consideration, and thereafter a report to the House pursuant to Standing Order number 123. The principal object of the bill is to give effect to the 4th schedule of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and Technical Vocational Education and Training Act 2013, and to provide for a framework for the establishment of systems for the administration, management, governance, and vocational education and training within Kisumu County and for connected purposes. Honorable members, the bill therefore proposes to provide a mechanism to facilitate effective administration and management of technical vocational training centers within Kisumu County, and accordingly give effects to Clause 3, Clause 6, Clause 17, 18, 26, 35, 38 of the TVET Act 2013. I mean sections, Section 3, 6, 17, 18, 26, 35, and 38 of the TVET Act 2013. The bill provides for preliminary matters, including short titles, objects, and acts, and guiding principles that guide the management and administration of TVET and training. The bill further designates responsible authorities for purposes of developing institution-specific guidelines for technical vocational education and training, and further designates responsible TVET officers to undertake specific mandates conditioned to improve TVET management and performance in the education and labor sectors. Honourable members, this bill mandates CC member for education to develop a specific guidelines and policies for identification of trainees in special needs and put in place such measures as may be necessary to ensure access and provision of vocational education and training to trainees with special needs. And this bill further proposes establishment of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Fund, whose primary object is to provide capitation to vocational education and training institutions in accordance with criteria prescribed by the CC member responsible for education, taking into account the respective institutional output, efficiency, and role in areas prioritized by the county government. The bill also delegates legislative powers to CC member for education to make regulations. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, the committee that wrote the report is the Committee of ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training, and comprises of Seth Okumu as the chair and Vitalis Komudo as the vice chairperson, alongside 13 other members. The secretariat include Herman Moses, who is the clerk assistant, Jacqueline Otieno, the Hansard, and Rose Baraza as the sergeant at arms. Honourable members, and I know you know by now that the mandate of committee is found in Standing Order number 193, which gives the committee mandate, including looking into bills brought in this house and committed to them. Honourable members, we want to thank the office of the clerk and the speaker for really assisting this committee through public participation and writing of this report that is before the house today. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, as we are looking at the bill, we had to do public participation. And in doing public participation, we were guided by statutes. And some of the statutes that we were guided to as we are doing public participation includes Article 1(2) of the Constitution of Kenya and Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya, which talks about public participation as a national value and principle of governance. Article 118 of the Constitution, which directly invokes public participation in legislative process. Article 174, subarticle C, which provides for the objects of devolution and gives powers to self-governance to the people and enhance public participation in the exercise of powers of the state and in making decisions affecting them. Article 196, subarticle 1B, provides for public participation and county assembly powers and privileges and immunities. Article 201 provides for openness, accountability, including public participation in financial matters. Other than the Constitution, we have the County Government Act 2012, Section 87 and 91, which establishes detailed principles and modalities and platforms for citizen participation in policy formulation and legislation, and the Kisumu County Public Participation Act of 2016, which provides for the procedure to be followed when conducting public participation exercise within Kisumu County. Members, those are some of the statutes that we looked at when we were doing public participation as guidance. I'll take you through the overview of the bill. So in part 2, the CC member for education is required to formulate mechanism necessary for administrative structures for the management of public vocational training centers and provide plans and policies to ensure availability, accessibility, and effective delivery of VET in the county. Then we have part 3 of the bill, which runs from clause 8 to clause 32, deals with financial provisions. And in the financial provisions, it includes establishment of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Fund, which provides for funds to vocational education training institutions in accordance with the criteria prescribed by the CC member. So part 3 deals with funding of creation of the fund and where we will get the funds to put in that specific fund. Part 4, which is clause 33 to 34 of the bill, deals with miscellaneous provisions and contains provision exempting TVET from personal liability in respect of any act done in the execution of powers or duties under the act. So part 4, if an officer does anything to help implement the act that we are soon passing, then it exempts them from any liability. Then we have part 5. Other members, I'll go to public participation in the processing of the bill. Like I mentioned that we did public participation of the bill, and this was done after advertisement on Nation and Star newspapers on 29th April 2023. The committee invited the public to submit views and make representation regarding the bill as required in the provision of Article 118 of the Constitution and Standing Orders number 123 of the Kisumu County Assembly Standing Orders. So after doing that advert, we got memoranda. Apart from just going for public participations in the different areas that I'll mention, we received a memoranda from Pamoja organization and their proposals on amending the bill. And the Pamoja transformation has recommended that the committee, 1, align the principles of the bill with CBC, competency-based education and training policy framework of October 2018, by expanding or editing the guiding principles to include recognition of prior learning, RPL, for candidates that have acquired some basic skills. So if you acquire basic skills, then that should be recognized as you go to the vocational education training centers. 2, to provide provisions in the bill to promote transformative research for TVET, that our TVET should also be allowed to do research. And 3, expand the composition of the committee to include a representation of the sponsoring religious institution and a representative of the development partner or donor. So they are recommending that in part of the bill where we are having the boards, we include the organization sponsoring the institution, representative of a donor. Then 4, they are recommending, Pamoja is recommending that we consider the progressive implementation of Article 54, Sub-Article 2, Article 55, and Article 56 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 in the appointment of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Committee. Then 5, they are recommending that we establishing a board of governors in accordance with clause 28 of the TVET Act of 2013 and provide provisions on the remuneration of the board of governors during their sittings. Then lastly, they are recommending that we stipulate whether there will be any approval or authorization of closure of private VTCs as a matter of accountability and provide reasons and threshold for the closure. If you want to close a private VTC for reasons of accountability and the threshold that is required for that to be closed. Those were the memorandum that were provided for by Pamoja Transformation. Then we did a public participation, as I mentioned, that was advertised on Star and Daily newspapers on 29, 2023. And we, on that advertisement, agreed that Muhoroni public participation, Muhoroni sub-county public participation will be done at 9 a.m. in Muhoroni PAG Church. Kisumu East will be done at Kolwa Central at Ragumo Community Hall. Seme will be done in Central Seme at Kombewa Huduma Center. Kisumu Central was to be done at Market Milimani at Kisumu Social Hall. Nyando was to be done at Ahero Ward at Karanda AIC. Kisumu West was to be done at Southwest at Ojola Resource Center. Nyakach was to be done in Central Nyakach at Papunditi Hall. And all those public participation were to start at 9 a.m. So these are some of the reports from the public participations in their consideration of the bill. In Muhoroni, they were recommending that the bill should provide clear procedure on the relationship between the public and private institutions which have sponsored public VTCs. 2, that the following organization be included in the composition of County Vocational Education and Training Committee: faith-based organizations, special needs, and civil societies. They had also recommended that we have a clear procedure, that a clear procedure be provided on how staff for vocational training centers will be remunerated. And then they're recommending that a clear procedure be provided on how vocational training centers will manage their own source revenue. And that the quorum of the county VTC committee be raised to half instead of third, as it is impractical for 4 people to make a decision on behalf of 13. And that pursuant to clause 25B, but 1, procedures on how affected learners will be transitioned should be provided. And the people of Muhoroni also said that a clear regulation as to who qualifies for trainee capitation contemplated in clause 29(1)(d) should be provided, and that there should be remuneration for TVET boards contemplated in clause 11 of the bill, and that procedures for attachment placement should be provided in the regulation. Those were the submissions of the people of Muhoroni. In Kisumu East, the people of Kisumu East in the public participation recommended that the Board of Governors contemplated in clause 11 be amended to Board of Management. They also recommended that the regulation of this legislation to identify industries within Kisumu County which have entered in an MOU with the county government to offer attachment to students for TVET, and that the VTCs to be mandated to offer even certificate courses to help students pursue diploma courses, and that a special account be established for VTCs specifically for funds from national government to avoid the risk of diversion within the county to other county programs. The people of Seme during public participation recommended that the chairperson of the County Vocational Education and Training Committee contemplated in clause 7, subclause 2, be the chairperson for the County Assembly Committee on Education, that the quorum contemplated in clause 9, 3, be 2/3 of the membership and a resolution of the committee be made by a simple majority, and that the members appointed by the Board of Governors contemplated in clause 11, 2, part F, be sourced from within the community. The people of Kisumu Central, during their public participation, recommended that VTCs should also specialize on the Juakali sector and offer credentials based on skills within the Juakali sector, and that resources of the VTCs should be done in consideration of the population of the students within the VTCs, and that VTCs should promote innovation as one of their objects, and that the special meeting contemplated in clause 9, subclause 2, should be defined to prevent mischief that may arise from it being construed otherwise, and that representative of the public should sit in the Board of Governors. The people of Nyando had these submissions that qualification of sub-county vet coordinator contemplated in clause 19 be provided for in the bill, that standards of public vocational training should be clearly defined, that daycare facilities be constructed within VTCs to assist students with children, that procedures for specialization of VTCs be included. The people of Kisumu West, their public participation report did not capture anything, so we had nothing to write about what they submitted. The people of Nyakach recommended that the Board of Governors contemplated in clause 11 to include student leaders of the institution, and that the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Committee to have specific secretary. It was proposed that the director of TVET be the secretary. Honorable members, so after public participation, the committee made the following findings and observations from stakeholder submissions and its own views from the consideration of the bill. That the Kisumu County Vocational Education Training Committee, that is in the bill, that the committee acknowledged that while the bill had provided for provision of the committee meetings, the bill did not define what satisfies as a special meeting as envisaged in clause 9, subclause 2 of the bill. It will be noted that the purpose of putting a caveat on the number of meetings for a committee of this nature is to minimize expenditure on sitting allowances payable to the committee. It's therefore found that a special meeting should be defined to prevent mischief that may arise as a result of converting the meetings not contemplated by this legislation as a special meeting. On on-source revenue, the committee observed that there are vocational training centers that are currently engaged in revenue-generating activities within the institution. The management of on-source revenue is shrouded in inconsistencies, and there is no clear structure on how this revenue should be channeled from the institution to the county revenue fund account. The bill, however, has not provided for procedure for the management of the on-source revenue, and the committee has considered that this is an area that should be legislated. On transitioning of learners upon closure of a private VTC, it was observed that the procedure of closure of a private VTC contemplated in clause 25 fails to provide for a transition procedure of students from these private VTCs upon closure. The committee notes that a transitional provision should be provided to ensure that learning of students in these private VTCs is not adversely affected upon closure of the institution. qualification for trainee capitation, the committee has observed that the bill has not provided for the means of providing trainee capitation for public VTC and fails to provide primary factors that should be considered for trainee capitation. Then, in the principles and objects of the bill, the committee acknowledged that the object and principles of the bill be aligned with the National Competency-Based Training Policy Framework of 2018. Honourable members and Mr. Speaker, upon those observations and submissions of the public from public participation, together with memorandum of different organizations, these are our recommendation. That 1, clause 3.1b be amended by adding the phrase "and in accordance with the competency-based policy framework" immediately after the word discrimination. And now it will read as follows: training shall be availed to all qualified persons without discrimination and in accordance with competency-based training policy framework. That is how the new clause will read if you guys adopt this report. 2, that clause 9.3 be amended by introducing a new paragraph B as follows: without prejudice to the generality of subsection 2A above, a special meeting shall be a meeting convened upon the supposition that something of an urgent nature has suddenly arisen, which prevents a 1-month notice for its consideration being given in the ordinary way, and shall not exceed 4 sittings in a year. So we are introducing description of what a special sitting, so that committees don't meet every day and call it a special sitting. And if that is done, then clause 2A shall read: despite subsection 1, the committee may convene special meeting where necessary. And B, without prejudice to the generality of subsection 2A above, a special meeting shall be a meeting convened upon the supposition that something of an urgent nature has suddenly arisen, which prevents a 1-month notice for its consideration being given in the ordinary way. And then 3, that clause 11.2 be amended by deleting clause 11.2e and introducing a new subclause 11.3 as follows. That 11.3 will read: the chairperson contemplated in 2A above shall be elected from among persons appointed in accordance with clause 12 of the bill. 4, that clause 14 be amended by renumbering the clause and introducing a new subclause 14.2. And the new subclause 14.2 will read as follows: that the Board of Governors may establish a daycare facilities within the VTC whenever necessary to promote access to relevant training and breastfeeding for women. I know the Honorable Member Henrietta Bodo is really happy when I read that amendment that we need to make to the bill, and I will explain later. And 5, that clause 16.3d be amended by deleting the word incompetence in 16.3d and replacing therefrom with the word incompetency. So clause 13.3, clause 16.3d will read as follows: the county executive committee member may at any time remove a member of the board on the following ground: D, incompetency. Incompetency. I think they wrote incompetency. And that clause 17.1 be amended by deleting the word 14 days and replacing therefore with 7 days. And it will read as follows: the secretary of the board shall notify the director of a vacancy that occurs in the membership of the board within 7 days of the membership falling vacant. And we will also amend 17.2 by deleting the word 21 days and replacing therefore with the word 7 days to read as follows: where the director has been notified of a vacancy under this section, the director shall within 7 days present to the CC member the notification, who shall therefore appoint another person to fill the vacancy within 7 days. Honourable members, we want to amend clause 25A by introducing the phrase "at least 1 year before closure" immediately after the word "center," and it will read as follows. 25A, inform the county executive committee member of the intention of close down of the vocational education and training center at least 1 year before closure. Honourable members, we are looking at private VTCs that wanted to close, and the duration they need to inform the CC member for planning for those students, and we felt 1 year was a good time frame. Honourable members and Mr. Speaker, that clause 29(2) be amended by deleting the phrase CCM member and replacing therefore with the fund administrator. And it will read, there shall be paid out of the fund any expenditure approved by the fund administrator and incurred in connection with the administration of the fund. Honourable members, we also suggesting that clause 35(2) be amended by introducing a new paragraph immediately after the paragraph B as follows. Procedure for the management of revenue and income generated from the Technical Vocational Training Center. And further amended by introducing a new paragraph immediately after paragraph F as follows. Procedure for the transition of students from closed private VTC. And now 35(2) will read, 35(2), without prejudice to the general effect of subsection 1, the county executive committee member may make regulations for procedure A, procedure and criteria for center-based auditing in the public VTC, B, operational standards for public and private VTC within the county, C, procedure for management of revenue and income generated from technical vocational training centers, D, continuous review, evaluation and monitoring of policies and curriculum of the County Vocational Education and Training Committee and ensure vocational education and training quality, assurance, standards and relevance. E, procedure for authorization of private VTCs. F, procedure for the fulfillment of the 2/3 gender rule in composition of the County Vocational Education Training Committee. G, participation in benefit sharing or incentive allocation mechanism. And H, procedure for the transition of students from closed private VTCs. Honourable members and Mr. Speaker, the committee, having considered the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, the committee therefore recommends that this Honourable House passes this report that will do amendments onto the bill as proposed. And I want to call the Honourable Adega Benson to second.
Thank you. I second the same.
Honorable members, now that Honorable Seth Okumu, the chair for the Committee on Adult Education and Vocational Training, have presented their report. That is the report by ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on consideration of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023. Seconded, as per our standing orders, I want to propose a question. And I propose that the report by ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on consideration of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023 is open for debate. Honorable Benny Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I see this bill before the House, it reminds me of the second assembly when we came in. And I think that was the time when Kenya Breweries was being established, being constructed there. And we had a request that we wanted the youth to be employed there. And Mr. Speaker, as politicians, we did not see the reason why our youth would not be employed there. But when the executive came up to explain to us the technicalities which were there, consequently, the good governor of Kisumu, in conjunction with the assembly, made a good decision. The youth in Kisumu County were asked to join the Youth Polytechnic, which are the vocational training center, for technical courses. Because we were told, you cannot simply take a fundi and employ when he has no papers. The papers which are needed, the government trade test 3, 2, and 1. That shows that someone has skills to be employed in the building industry, in the Yuakali industry, as a carpenter, as a welder, as a plumber. The government of Kisumu under Professor Nyong'o did a splendid job by providing room for our youth to go and learn these artisan courses. And a good thing, Mr. Speaker, the county government paid for these courses. This was a good start. When we are now reaching a level where we are going to have the act to regulate vocational training colleges in Kisumu, we are moving ahead. And not only that, Mr. Speaker, the national government is also keen that every ward should have a vocational training center. Because technical course is the way to go. Technical course is the way to go, Mr. Speaker. We would applaud the government of Kisumu, hoping that this will work out very nice, and our youth will have the technical training, they will be absorbed in the Yuakali, and they will have a way of earning their life. Mr. Speaker, I remember also during the time of campaign, Honorable Raila suggested something, that the people in the Yuakali who are already technical, who already have the skills, should have what is called recognition of prior learning certificates. There are people who never went to school a lot, but they were gifted, they are talented, they are mechanics, they are contractors, they are carpenters. The engineers who have the degrees or who have the diplomas, they are the one who work for them. So when these people with these skills are recognized, Mr. Speaker, we shall do a good job to our people. Because someone who is talented, you need not force him to go to school. He only needs to learn a little, and the furniture made by them are splendid. Go to Kibuye Market, you will find the furniture being made there by our brothers and sisters. They never went for diploma. They never went for their degree courses. But because they were talented and they took their time to learn these skills through the Yuakali, they have become skilled workers, and what they are doing is remarkable in the market. I applaud the county government with the step they have taken to improve the Juakali sector in Kisumu County. I hope it will be a reality to our youth to see the need to develop their skills, and the county government to provide good resources to develop our vocational training centers, to allocate good money to employ the instructors, build good vocational training centers so that we can help our youth. Thank you.
Let me give the Honorable Dede, then Honorable Kelvin, and Honorable, the third will be Honorable Komudo, then Tom Nyauke. So Honorable Dede.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for according me the opportunity, having considered the seniority among the members who stood. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to echo my sentiment concerning the report which has been read by the chair. And the most important part which has made me happy is the clause 14 which has been added. Clause 14.2, where the Board of Governors may establish daycare facility which can at least assist our people. We find that those our young ladies who give birth at the community, they didn't have their space, and currently in the bill, it has been brought in whereby the daycare might be brought in so that those who have given birth at home can at least their children be taken care of and get their education. And secondly, being that the government has introduced the CBC curriculum system, we are now going to get all our children engaged in whatever they can do. We find that not all are gifted in book work, and people have got different gifts. Others have been in technical work, whereby you can get one can do better in weaving, and classwork he or she can't do better. And right now, they'll get there where they'll go after getting their training, so that after the completion of a school, being that in primary school after class 8 or the grade 5 which is now coming up, people can now join our TVET so that they get to do their skill work. And lastly, concerning the parents, we find that most of the parents can't get resources to take their children to school, yet at the vocational training there is capitation which provides our children. They are being taught different skills at the TVET colleges. Otherwise, I support. Thank you.
I already gave indication, Honorable Emily, I've noticed, but I already gave indication that the next person would be Honorable Kelvin Oraro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I start by applauding the Secretariat and the committee members of this very special committee. The first thing that I wanted to point out when they were starting, the report was talking about technical vocational education training bill, which they should have corrected and omit the word technical in that report, because the county and the bill itself is talking about the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill, but not technical vocational education and training bill. There must be clear difference between a VTC that we have and a TVET, technical vocational education training, which VTC have borrowed a lot from the technical vocational education and training from the bill. And from that, Mr. Speaker, I was lucky to have sat once when they were trying to do introduction, and they were talking about Education and Training TVET Act of 2013, which it has borrowed a lot. Mr. Speaker, as I join other colleagues also talking about the VTC, I think the country, starting from the last regime, had recognized that TVET need funding so that majority of the unemployed youths, majority of those who get D+ and below, and even those who cannot afford fee can go and do these technical courses, which technical courses, as an engineer speaker, you know very well that yes, you are an engineer, maybe in the profession line of water, but you need an artisan and a craftsman who is going to do the donkey work. Engineering is about the special training and reason why something happened. But there are those who are supposed to be doing the real work in the ground. The right term to be used as an educationist or advice is the word artisan, whereby artisan is the lowest level under that line of knowledge. The artisan, when you graduate from artisan, you become a craftsman. When you're lucky, one of the things that he's doing around, which I also borrowed from him, Mr. Speaker, is trying to give youths opportunity. But we have realized that most of our village polytechnic have nothing to show off. So for that reason, we have tried to look for other avenues of exposing our youths by taking them to TVET. I personally, I have a CADO vocational training in my ward. And if I compare the automotive part of Akado Village Polytechnic and with the one that I took students to call Rangwe Technical, you'll realize that there is no money in VTC. And such bills like this one will now open an account for VTC so that the government can send money, because that money will be guided by the law in place, so that most of our vocational colleges can get funding, and they can also equip their colleges with necessary apparatus that can be used by the students. But if you compare the VTC that we have today and with the TVET that we have today, you will realize that most of our VTC cannot attract many of the students that we want to help. So this bill has come at the right time, and I'm also urging members that if in case we'll pass this bill, let us use the opportunity to encourage the concerned department, the CEC member, to source for funds from even friendly countries. And I know our governor can even get more funds and equip most of our VTC. The moment our village technical VTC will be equipped, I'm sure that majority of our youths will join those colleges. But as at now, if you look at the registration, last time we were looking at VTC, you realize that we are around 5,000. And if you look at many youths who are just sitting idle, who don't have necessary skills, they are over 200,000. So it means that there are some things that if we add well and the management is put into place and funds is made available, then we expect this VTC of ours within our county to call for more and many students to join. And as they join, we will be solving other problems like the one disturbing the county today, the problem of insecurity. The majority of those who left in Form 4 and Class 8 dropouts, some because they cannot take advantage of motorbike, others have decided to form a gang, and we are having cases of security almost in every ward. For Kolwa Central, it is there, and my neighboring ward, Kolwa East. And some of these things come because youths do not get what to do. So we are discussing an important bill that I believe the moment it becomes an act and necessary things are done according to the specification or whatever the bill was trying to push for, I believe our VTC can improve and be better VTC than the way they are today. I support with that amendment of removing the word technical from the initial report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir, Honorable Komudo.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. I arise to support this bill ordinarily as a member of the House and specifically also as the Vice Chair of this particular committee. A lot of things, very elaborate indeed. If you go through that report, a lot has been covered. And you do realize that we have not had much in terms of parameters that runs our the VTCs. It is the first time we are having this kind of very, very accomplished, very, very polished report that we expect to guide us as we move forward. Where I come from, in Moroni Core Ward, I have got one VTC really struggling. In fact, the other day, the Mzungu who has been there was just leaving, and you could hear the kind of desperation that everybody around that place is having. I won't believe that with the passing of this bill, we are all going to have a clear management style or clear parameters as should be. Only 2 areas to mention in the committee findings about the revenues. You'll go there and you'll find most of these people are doing a lot of things. You'll find the poultry, you'll find some kind of small agricultural activities going on. But where do they take these monies? No one knows. If we come up with this kind of a bill, there's going to be a very clear structure, as the committee has clearly stated in the report. Secondly, a lot of these things will just collapse, just like that. And when they're closed up, people become hopeless. Honorable Speaker, together with honorable members, majority of the people, and truth be told, do not make it. In as much as we have got so many going to universities today, we also have a bigger number who are just but grounded, going to some junior schools or junior high schools in the villages, and these are the only hopes that can strengthen. I fully support the bill. In fact, not 100, but 101%. Thank you so. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you so much, honorable members.
Honorable Tom Nyauke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me first of all start by thanking the committee chaired by my good friend, Honorable Seth, for coming up with this very important report, quite elaborate, detailed, and I'm happy looking at the clauses that they have dealt with. The clauses that they have dealt with, you look at it now, Mr. Speaker, there are so two specifics that are really going to help us enhance the training and the teaching of our vocational training centers. Mr. Speaker, if you look outside here now, it is apparent that most of our children, most of our sons and daughters have gone to university. So many of them, Mr. Speaker. But you look at these artisan jobs that are now taking place in almost all the areas. I come from construction industry, and we do have a lot of challenges, even recruiting people to work in this, some of these companies. For once, because many people who are engineers coming from the universities, they come, they really don't have a hands-on experience on what they're supposed to do. We rely on mostly the artisans and the junior technicians who have really, good experience, and that can be used in such particular sectors. Mr. Speaker, if we look at the overall means of this, it means if we put a lot of effort in our vocational training centers, we are going to help so many youths in our vicinities that are able, and that actually they will be able to be absorbed in the little job opportunities that we do have. Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, even practically, a plumber working in my home is one plumber who works in Kericho, works in Siaya, works in Kisumu, works in Homa Bay. Mr. Speaker, this is happening because we have not encouraged some of our boys to go to these vocational training centers. That is why it is my prayer, Mr. Speaker, that as we adopt, as we pledge for the adoption of this report, Mr. Speaker, we pray for the committee again to make sure that they follow up, that all these are put into practice, that our juniors, our children that we have at home, those who are not able to go to the university, join these vocational training centers so that they can also acquire the skills they can use locally, and thereby trying to earn some income. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to support the report.
Honorable Emily.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd first of all like to commend the committee for doing a marvelous job by coming up with an amendment. and especially on clause 14. Because one thing that I'm actually grateful for the new constitution for having come up with, for having given us the opportunity to have vocational training centers, is because it's more like we're giving our people a second chance and an opportunity to access education and be able to get jobs, because not everybody is able to go to the university, and not everybody is able to get the other kinds of knowledge that are there. So I'd like to thank the committee for coming up with these amendments, especially on clause 14, part 2 that they just added. That is on the Board of Governors introducing the daycare centers and breastfeeding rooms. Mr. Speaker, this is a very good move so that we are able to include the young mothers who would like to come back and gain knowledge, but in most cases they usually come across, have these challenges of where to leave the children while they come to access knowledge. So I think this would really be a very good one for vocational training centers and access to education. Another clause that I also came across in this document is the clause 5. Although this is an existing item, clause 5 part B, where it talks about establishing a mechanism for the identification of trainees with special needs and put in place with measures as may be necessary to ensure access to and provision of vocational education and training to trainees with special needs. Mr. Speaker, why I'm focusing on this is because this is one area that I actually have a lot of interest in. I don't know why. But I know Honorable Seth, who is the chair here, we've had a lot of discussion with him on this line, although he doesn't want to create employment for these people with special needs, and I'm still trying to talk him over it. Mr. Speaker, if you look at Kisumu County, we have no training center for people with special needs. This is because recently I had a student that I was enrolling into college. He just completed Form 4. And I realized that Kisumu County has no training center for people with special needs. I went around. Siaya County has a place at Nyangoma. We have another one in Homa Bay County at Sikri, which is very good. So maybe if our county can also try and maybe provide this in one of the vocational training centers, then I think we'd really be doing so much for our people. Otherwise, I'd like to thank this committee for coming up with this, and I support. Thank you.
Honorable Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I'm happy. The report we are discussing today is a report that is going to take our county to another level. I'm saying this because immediately after elections, when we started work as an assembly, when I went back to my ward, I realized that people yearn to get the skills that the vocational training centers are offering. I realized this because I walked around and having discussed with my electorates and agreed on something, many of them came. And all of them wanted to go to the vocational training centers. Until now, from my ward, they have gone around 530 since we were elected, which is a very good number. The vocational training centers, the document we have, is going to help greatly because it covers issues management. It covers a lot how we'll manage the vocational training centers. I'm saying this because the 844 system that we are moving out of, it has its own demerits, and one of that was producing people from a system who only focused in passing instead of skills. So you realize the 844 system gave us very many people who are focused only on passing and without skills. That system gave us a big number of people who are outside, who are left out, and they had nothing to do. So the Vocational Training Center is trying to rectify what the 844 system didn't give us. Because you realize the vocational training centers, they're giving people skills that the 844 system was not offering, which I'm very grateful for. And I'm also grateful that our governor saw it fit that every ward will have a vocational training center. Because we have very many factories, we have very many industries within Kisumu County. But then you realize that a majority of these people working in these companies, a majority of them come from outside Kisumu County. I hope most of us have realized that. Because the skills that the companies want, the skills that the factories want, our people don't have. So having this document, we are going to rectify a lot of things, and we realize that after some time, we'll have even controlled security in this county. Because we have very many people who want skills, and after they have gotten the skills from the vocational training centers, you realize that they are going to be employed, or rather some of them will find something to do with the skills they have, and in return they'll have money in their pockets, and that will reduce insecurity within Kisumu County and Kenya at large. We have another system, the CBC system. Somehow, it is promoting what the vocational training centers are offering. And I believe, going forward, Kisumu County is going to be one of the counties with very skilled people, with very skilled labor, so that we avoid very many importations of very unnecessary things from Kenya. Because you realize that up to now as a country, there are things that we still import, even furniture. Some of the things that we are supposed to be producing from this country. So I support this report, because I know it is going to take our county to greater heights. Thank you.
Honorable Pamela Awuor, because you were.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to support the motion on the floor on vocational training institutions. Mr. Speaker, skill is a very important thing for a youth or for somebody who is still at an early age, because the skill, you can use it to do many things in the society. When we promote these vocational training centers, Skill is going to bring equity and provide techniques that is going to bring money and empower our youths and empower the society. This vocational training center will promote dignity and efficiency as a manual laborer. Even if you are a manual laborer and you have the skill, you will do it in a dignified way and you will do it properly. And at least you will be paid higher than somebody who has no skills. When we take our children to these vocational training centers, we are going to increase training opportunities in very local things, maybe in cooking, tailoring, laundry, saloon, and many of our youths are going to be empowered through vocational training centers. And therefore, it is important that all wards must have this kind of trainings because many of our youths are unemployed, and unemployment is a problem in the society. Once we empower our youths, they are able to depend on their own, they are able to do their business on their own, and it will reduce over-dependency of many of our young youths who does not have something to do. The TVETs are able to develop curriculums that are responsive to our economy. Once they develop such curriculums, like the trend that the world is changing to a different trend. So if we develop curriculums that are responsive to what we require in a society, let's say in our society, majority of our people are fishermen. Through this TVET, we can develop techniques on how we can preserve our fish, how we can transport it, and this will be important to our people, and it will empower us, at the same time make the economy of this place stable. I want to support this motion. It is important, it will help us, and it will take us to another level. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Alice Wajeo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. First of all, I want to start by applauding the chair, education, for the elaborate report. I also want to congratulate the committee members for the work, the well work they have done. As you are aware that education is an equalizer of our time, and it gives hope to the hopeless. Why am I saying this? We have our children who have gone through primary education and they have dropped out of school. Some have gone up to Form 4 and they have not attained the marks to enable them to go through university education. Some of them are really affected psychologically because they think that they are failures in life. But here is vocational training centers, which gives them hope. Most of them, maybe, they have not excelled educationally, but they are skilled. They have skills. So, vocational training centers are going to bring out their skills, and they become important people in the society. Most of them are going to be trained, and it will enable them to be productive people in the society and earn a living just like others. I'm so much impressed with this bill because it even caters for our young mothers. The introduction of daycare centers and the feeding centers is very, very, very important to our girls. Those who had lost hope, that now they are young mothers and there's nothing they can do. They cannot attend the training centers and at the same time taking care of their children at home. So when we give them an opportunity to come with their children to the vocational training centers, this is really a good opportunity for them to excel. Mine is just to thank our governor for he has taken his time and he has put more effort in vocational training centers, which are going to be established within the wards. I just want to support. Thank you so much.
Honorable, I noticed Honorable Boyton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I realize that the microphone, I've also seen that I want to oppose this bill. Mr. Speaker, from where I sit, that is Nyalenda A ward. The highest population of these people are living below $1. These are people who are struggling to put food on table. They are struggling to give education to their children. The basic need is an issue to them. Mr. Speaker, any parent, including us, who are taking their children to school, we are taking our children to school with anticipation that these children make it to the university. There is no parent here today who will be paying school fee from Form 1 to Form 4 and expecting the child to join vocational training center. This is the truth. We are investing in our children so that they get the best and the highest level of education they can attain. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm looking at it from a different angle. As much as the bill is going to pass, reading from the move of the House, I want to encourage the department that let us look into how we can support students in secondary schools in whichever way, so that they either make it to the university or they land with diploma courses. Not what is brought today in this assembly. That is my thought, Mr. Speaker. For that matter, Mr. Speaker, I oppose the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mildred Ajubo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the work that was done by the Education and Vocational Committee on the bill that is proposed before us. Mr. Speaker, I've looked at the bill, I have read it, and I've seen several proposals and several corrections in the bill. It is good, Mr. Speaker. Not all our wards have vocational training institute. In my ward, it was supposed to begin the other day. The work has not started, Mr. Speaker. And as I stand here, the chair of the Education Committee, Hon Seth, the day that we were doing the public participation, he was very categorical that the work in my ward, Central Seme, was going to start. Up to now, the training institution, the contractor has not reported to work. So I hope he will take it serious so that as we discuss and debate on the bill, how it is good in my ward, it's going to help a lot of youths. Mr. Speaker, one major issue we have in our wards, while we were campaigning, many of us were promising our youths employment. And the reality that when you're campaigning and you tell them about vocational training, many of us fear that these youths may not vote you. So you just have to tell them that once I get in, I'm going to ensure that you are employed at the county, maybe as a revenue officer or any other job. So, Mr. Speaker, I encourage our MCAs from today, as we go back to our wards, let us encourage our youth that you don't have to go to university. Even though I've heard Honorable Boyton saying that many of us here, we take our children to the university. Then when we stand here, we want to say how vocational training colleges are good. You know, it's going to provide them with skills. Yet many of the students believe that you must go to the university. Mr. Speaker, we have a very hard job because the bill is here before us, even when we pass it. But we still need to do a lot of public participation among our youths in the wards. Because for them to be convinced that they don't have to do diploma in other institutions, even to convince them to go to the local college. Mr. Speaker, in our constituency, Seme, we have TTC, we have TVET, and we have KMTC. Many of the people that attend the TVET are from ward of Honorable Billy. You've heard Mr. Speaker Billy saying that over 500 students have been exported to Seme to go and train. And he personally told me that many of the students in the TVET in Seme, in my ward, they come from his ward. Mr. Speaker, we need to do a lot of work. We need to still do public participation to encourage many of our youths to join the colleges, the vocational training colleges within the wards. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to support the bill.
Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the report on the TVET bill. Mr. Speaker, cognizant of the fact that education is the means through which the society equalizes, irrespective of our social backgrounds, and it also ensures that children or students achieve their full potential and actually get to the highest level of achievements possible, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the current Kenyan education system has a myriad of challenges, cost of education being one of them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's also confusion in qualification or transfer qualification to one institution or the other. Mr. Speaker, we also have class or pedagogical differences that do not guarantee all children to proceed to higher institutions of learning, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm supporting this because it's also going to give the less fortunate in our society who are affected by the class differences to also come to a level of coming close or equalizing to their mates who make it to the universities by maximizing or making good use of their talents or God-given gifts in artisan or craft areas to give them a better or a dignified way of living, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the bottom-up government, the Kenya Kwanza government, in its manifesto, promised to open up a portal, a crafts and arts portal, that would then help in listing all the stakeholders or the players in the industry and map them out and help them market their produce and build them financially, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we would not want to be left out if Kenya Kwanza promises on their manifesto is anything to go by. But Mr. Speaker, there are not any, we don't see them coming true, Mr. Speaker, because so many have not been honored. But should they honor their promises, we don't want our people to be left behind. We want to encourage that we promote our TVETs, make them better places, Mr. Speaker, more comfortable for those who may want to learn and better their lives instead of just staying home, yeah, surrendering to disillusion, having not achieved the highest level that others that were favored by the social status have gone through, Mr. Speaker. So with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I fully support the report, and I also want to urge my colleagues that we urge our electorates, especially the youths, in our areas like Nyalenda A and Manyata B, who are school dropouts that did not have a chance of going through higher education, that is secondary education and universities, to join the TVETs so that their lives may be different from what we are witnessing now, because most of them, Mr. Speaker, are resigning to drug abuse and criminal activities as a way of getting something to, a hope a hope to live on, Mr. Speaker. So instead of just hanging around waiting for Honorable Boyton to come back from the assembly and give them something small, Mr. Speaker, they can make themselves busy and earn a honorable living by getting something out of their own sweat, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, I support.
Honorable Zako Koyo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thank you for giving me this. I don't know whether it's the last opportunity, but I'm happy to have this opportunity because, Mr. Speaker, I'm up on my knees or on my feet because I want to support this motion. Mr. Speaker, as a member of the ECD Education Committee, Mr. Speaker, I want to inform the House that we really went through this document close by close, and we weighed all the avenues. Mr. Speaker, it is true, like other members or a member may have seen that most members would want their children or students to go to universities. But I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, without mincing a word, that not all the students can go to university. And we even tried to see how we can make our VTCs look appealing even to those who would go to university but decided to come to the VTCs to have the technical know-how. Mr. Speaker, I'm a bit worried because I had the chairman of planning and industrialization, a person whom I thought would really support this because industrialization, sometimes you don't even need to go to university, but you can attain your degree or you can have the technical know-how, and we come back and build our Kisumu County. So when my chair of planning was opposing this bill, I just thought maybe he's not ready to help us see how we can have our youth to come to VCTs and attain the technical know-how so that we can build the Kisumu, plan well for the Kisumu, and have them in our local industries. Mr. Speaker, I still want to give members of Education Committee a pat on their back, because I remember we even argued that VTCs should not be for the dropouts, and VTCs should not look as if we want to bring those who have lost hope in life. So, Mr. Speaker, this is why this document should see the light of the day, and I believe we will have more students who would wish to join universities to come to our VTCs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Henrietta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the committee for education, and especially the chair. Mr. Speaker, we went to write this report, and there was a big argument whether or not to have a space or a place for young mothers who breastfeed. I was surprised that none of us, including women representatives, could support this. Mr. Speaker, the VCTs are very, very important. It's important to us all, not only for those who have not seen universities, but to all of us. Why am I saying this, Mr. Speaker? When we are giving birth to these children, you don't know who they will be in the near future. But as they grow up, you find out that they don't have same abilities. They're different. As it is today in Kenya, we talk about putting food on the table. I think that is the first priority we have. If you cannot provide for your family, then you are a useless person. Whether or not you have gone to school, it doesn't matter. Today in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, we are looking for people who can put food on the table. And we looked and found out that it is in these VCTs that we are debating about that we can find those kind of people. Today, if you ask a student, because I know majority of us, either you have a relative who is a graduate and is sitting at home because there are no jobs, or you have a child or children who are graduates but they are still sitting at home. I talked to mine, Mr. Speaker, and I asked them, if I take you to VCT today, you go there for a year or 2 or 3, will it be okay with you, or you want to sit for us to look for you a job? And they told us, Mommy and Daddy, take us to VCT. That is how serious it is today. That members, we have to realize and come to an agreement that VCTs are not for dropouts. They are for all of us. Today, maybe you are working, tomorrow you are not working, you cannot afford to pay for your child. But the government are paying for your child to go and get that skill. Why can't you allow them to do that which they want to do, and that which can help them provide food or put food on the table? Mr. Speaker, there is an issue of young mothers who are joining VCTs. And the debate was quite heated. And we were only 2 of us who pushed the young mothers to the end, that they must have a place where they can breastfeed so that they can go to school. Because in my mind, I was thinking that why are these VCTs built? They are built for both men and women. They are built for both girls and boys. And if a girl has given birth, the boy who has given birth with the girl is going to VCT. And the girl is sitting at home simply because they cannot find where to keep their babies or to breastfeed their babies while going to school. At the end of it all, Mr. Speaker, we came to a conclusion that we have to take care of girls. As a representative of women or girls, I say that girls must have somewhere, and young mothers, where they are to feed their babies while they are going to school. Mr. Speaker, it is high time we look at education in Kenya. Because even if we look at education, we take our children to school, where are the jobs? I think there is a reason why these VCTs were formed in the first place. We are just trying to polish it to look nicely so that our people can join them. But we are not saying that going to school and attaining a degree is bad. We are just saying that there are people, even who have passed and gone to universities, but they still want to come back because they know that is where they can get their daily bread. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Abil Umudia Sona.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to support this bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, BTCs have helped, more so in my ward. There was a time that the county used to sponsor 25 students per year, and I've seen how it has changed lives. I have even an example of a lady who was just sitting at home, married, and didn't have anything to do. We encouraged her to go to the VTC, and she's now even an instructor in the same school where she went. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support.
Honorable Sami Onyango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, being the part of the process, may I call the mover to reply?
Honorable Sepe Kumu.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank honorable members for deliberating on this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with the member for Kolwa Central that the report is on vocational education training bill 2023 and not technical vocational. And this is the first bill that we are going to do in 2023. Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank the Honorable Iko for really supporting this bill with a lot of points. And I don't understand where my brother, Honorable Boyton, was when the members were submitting. Honorable Speaker, before I delve on the submission of Honorable Boyton, allow me to make it clear the claim by the Honorable member nominated the Honorable Henrietta Bodo, that it's only her who proposed for a breastfeeding center in the bill. If you look at the bill, Honorable member, from the public participation, I think it was from Nyando. The public participation report from Nyando had proposed that we have daycare facilities to be constructed within VTCs. And all members were discussing was, do we have it in the regulation or do we have it in the bill? And insinuating that only 2 against 15 were supporting, may make members think that we brought a minority report that approved amendment of the bill. I think majority of the members approved that amendment, but there was heated discussion, as she has said. To my brother, the honorable member for Nyalenda A, attending a VTC is not left for people who have failed in life. That has to be clear. VTCs is for me and you and everyone to go and get life skills. We had an education system where we would have our students finishing Form 4 and they cannot even sew their own dress or their own shirt. Like if they lose the button on the shirt, they take it to mama to go and sew it for them. And we believe our VTCs can provide this life skill. Some of us are interested in carpentry, and we did health in universities. Our training in the university does not deter us from getting other life skills that we need in life. And that is what we are providing for our students. That has to be clear to you. And like all my brothers have mentioned to you, not everyone can go to the university. That is a fact that we have to live it. Not everyone will be number one. Not everyone will get the highest mark that you require. People have different abilities. Some people are not interested in doing their masters and thesis. Some people are just interested in making vehicles. Like I know yesterday your vehicle was down there at Juakali. It was not being made by somebody who went to the university. It was made by somebody who just have skills. And we are saying, let's recognize these people in our institutions so that when they go and looking for jobs in companies that we foresee coming here, then they can be recognized, because what companies recognize are papers, including experience. So, honorable member, we implore on you that VTCs are not left for the downtrodden. They're not left for people who have failed in life. They're not left for people who think have nowhere to go. But they are institutions to give everyone life skills that we need in improving our economy. And like my brother Honorable Koyo said, as the chair of industrialization, and we are talking about integrated development, by now you should know this, that for us to get industrialized, not everyone will go to university. We need people who are trained on life skills, who can be good carpenters, good plumbers, good welders, good mechanics to help improve our economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to reply.
Thank you so much, Honorable Seth. So that I wanted to, if you are continuing, I wanted to ask you that you address the chair, because the Honorable Boytom is in the plenary, and all the things that you say is said to the Speaker. So I hope you stand guided.
Most obliged, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, now that the motion for adoption of the report by the ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on consideration of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, Kisumu County Bill number 1 of 2023 have been presented, seconded and debated. As per our standing orders, I want to put a question. And I put that as many of the opinions that the motion on the adoption of the report by ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on consideration of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, Kisumu County Bill number 1 of 2023, be adopted. Say aye.
Aye.
As many of the contrary opinions say nay. The ayes have it. And the Kisumu County Vocational, the report on the adoption, the motion on the adoption of the report by ECD Adult Education and Vocational Training Committee on consideration of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, Kisumu County Bill number 1 of 2023, have been adopted today, Thursday, the 29th of June, 2023, at 16:35 hours. And I want to direct that the comments in the report be considered in the next level of the bill. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. The Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, Kisumu Bills number 1 of 2023, second reading by Honorable Seth Okum.
Honorable Seth Okum.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, may I request that the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023 be read for the second time.
Ms. Clerk.
The Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, a bill for an act of Kisumu County Assembly to give effect to the fourth schedule of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the Technical Vocational Education and Training Act 2013, and provide for a framework for the establishment of systems for the administration, management, and governance of vocational education and training within Kisumu County and for connected purposes. Memorandum of Objects and Reasons. Statement of the objects and reasons for the bill. The principal object of this bill is to provide for a framework for the establishment of systems for the administration, management, and governance of vocational education and training within Kisumu County and for connected purposes, and to institute appropriate mechanisms to promote access, equity, quality, and relevance in training to ensure adequate human capital for economic, social, and political development in Kisumu County. Statement on the delegation of legislative powers and limitation on fundamental rights and freedoms. The bill delegates legislative powers to the CC member responsible for vocational education and training to formulate regulations for the operationalization of the provisions of this act, but does not limit any fundamental rights and freedoms. Statement on how the bill concerns the county government. The bill concerns the county government of Kisumu pursuant to the provisions of the fourth schedule of the Constitution of Kenya and establishes for the necessary administrative and procedural structures for the management of vocational education and training within the county. Statement that the bill is not a money bill within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution. This bill is not a money bill within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution. And the bill is now read a second time.
Honorable members, before I give the Honorable Seth, as per our standing order, the bill has been read for the second time. And I believe in your order paper, you have the notices that have been proposed. Again, also in line with what the Honorable Chair of Education Committee has proposed. I think that is clause 3.1b, clause 9.3, clause 11.2, clause 14, clause 16.3d, clause 17.1, clause 17.2, clause 25a, clause 29.2, and clause 35.2, plus any other amendment that can be proposed therein. So, Honorable Seth.
Honorable Speaker, I request that we turn the House into the Committee of Whole.
Hey, honorable members, order, members. We have reverted to the committee of the whole house, but I can see you need to stretch a little. Can I give you 2 minutes to stretch? You come back? Yes. Please make sure you come back. Order, honorable members. We are in the committee of the whole house. We are in the second reading of the Kisumu County Vocational Training and Education and Training Bill 2023. And this is the sequence to be followed during the second reading of a bill. That is Standing Order number 126. And I read, in considering a bill in a committee, the various parts thereof shall be considered in the following sequence. A, clauses as printed, excluding the clauses providing for the citation of the bill, the commencement, if any, and interpretation. B, new clauses. C, schedules. D, new schedules. E, interpretation. F, preamble, if any. G, long title. H, clauses providing for the citation of the bill and the commencement. So, honorable members, I want to propose that we follow the sequence unless we have a member proposing otherwise. We also have an option of going the guillotine way. So unless a member proposes otherwise, I request that we follow the sequence. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I propose that we go the guillotine way. And I want to ask the Honorable Bill to second.
Yes, Honorable Billy.
I second.
Honorable members, a proposal has been made that we go the guillotine way in looking at the second reading of the bill. And I want to request that we go part by part. So, honorable members, part one, which is the preliminary, which has the short title, interpretation and guiding principle. Any amendment in part one, Chair?
Chair, under part one, we propose to have under interpretation definition of special sitting, and in that definition, we want special sitting to be described as a meeting. Special sitting shall be a meeting convened upon the supposition that something of an urgent nature suddenly arisen which prevents a 1 month notice for its consideration being given in the ordinary way and shall not exceed 4 sittings in a year. And I want to ask the Honorable Member for Kaloleni to second.
Yes, Honorable Karen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second.
An amendment to the interpretation has been made on special sittings. Any further amendments from the floor? Any amendments? If we don't have any further amendments, may I then propose that the interpretation with the amendment thereof be part of the bill? Putting a question that the interpretation with the amendment thereof be part of the bill. And may as many as of the opinion say aye. And may as many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. And the interpretation with the amendment becomes part of the bill. Any other amendment in part 1? Chair?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. In part 1, we are going to have clause 3(1)(b), and it will be amended and to include the competency-based training policy framework. And now it will read that the training shall be availed to all qualified persons without discrimination and in accordance with the competency-based training policy framework. And I want to ask the honorable member for Miwani Ward. Okay, the honorable member for Kabonyo Kanyagwal to second.
Any amendment from the floor? Any further amendments from the floor on clause 3? If we don't have any further amendments, may I propose, put a question, that the amendment in clause 3 Benny, did you stand? You bowed. You want to put an amendment? To second? Okay, thank you, Benny. If we don't have any further amendments, I want to put a question that clause 3 as amended be part of the bill. And may as many of that opinion say aye. May as many of contrary opinion say nay. Do we have any further amendments in part 1, Chair? Amendments in part 1 from the floor? If we don't have any further amendments, then may I put a question that part 1 as a whole with the amendments be part of the bill? And may as many of that opinion say aye. And may as many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Part 1 as amended now becomes part of the bill. Part 2, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, allow me to make proposals for all part 2. And that will be clause 9, clause 11, clause 14, clause 16, clause 17, and clause 25A. Honorable Chair, in clause 9, we are amending 9(2)A to read as follows: that despite subsection 1 the committee may convene special meetings where necessary. That is 9.2a. And 9.2b, without prejudice to the generality of subsection 2a above, a special meeting shall be a meeting convened upon supposition that something of an urgent nature has suddenly arisen, which prevents a 1-month notice for its consideration being given in the ordinary way. Those are the amendments of clause 9. Clause 11. In clause 11, we are deleting 2e and introducing a new subclause, which is 11.3. After deleting 2e, we are introducing 11.3. And 11.3 will now read, the chairperson contemplated in 2a above shall be elected from among persons appointed in accordance with clause 12. Honorable Chair, in clause 14, we are introducing a new clause, which is clause 14.2, and that clause 14.2 will read, the Board of Governors may establish daycare facilities within the vocational training centers whenever necessary to promote access to relevant training to breastfeeding women. Honorable Chair, clause 16, 3D. We are going to amend it by deleting the word incompetence, and replacing it with the word incompetency. And now it will read, the county executive committee member may at any time remove a member of the board on the following grounds, and 16.3D will now read incompetency. Then, clause 17 of part 2, we are amending it by deleting the word 14 days and replacing with 7 days. And now it will read that, 17.1 will read, the secretary of the board shall notify the director of a vacancy that occurs in the membership of the board within 7 days of the membership falling vacant. And then we are also amending 17.2 by deleting the word 21 days and replacing with the word 7 days, and it will now read as follows. Where the director has been notified of a vacancy under this section, the director shall within 7 days present to the CCM member the notification, who shall thereafter appoint another person to fill the vacancy within 7 days. And lastly, on part 2, Honorable Chair, is on clause 25A, and we are amending it by introducing a phrase, at least once a year. At least 1 year before closure, we are introducing a new phrase, at least 1 year before closure, immediately after the word center. And 25A will now read, inform the county executive committee member of the intention to close down the vocational education and training center at least 1 year before closure, and then you go to the next number. Those are the amendments that we have in part 2. And I want to request the honorable member for Miwani Ward to now second. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Warindu. Thank you, honorable members. Any further amendments in part 2? Any further amendments from the floor? If there are no further amendments from the floor, then honorable members, I want to propose that part 2 which is clause 9, clause 11, clause 14, clause 16, clause 17, and clause 25, with amendments therein, be part of the bill. And may as many of that opinion say aye. May as many out of the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. So, honorable members, part 2, as amended, now becomes part of the bill. Part 3, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We were consulting with a senior member of something, but we have finished. So in part 3, Madam Chair, we want to amend from the report clause 29, part 2, and we want to delete the phrase CCE member and replace therefore with fund administrator. And now 29.2 shall read, there shall be paid out of the fund any expenditure approved by the fund administrator and incurred in connection with the administration of the fund. Chair, that is the only amendment that we have in part 3. And I want to request the honorable member for Central Seme to second.
Honorable Ajumbo.
I rise to second.
Thank you, honorable members. Any other amendments from the floor? In part 3? Yes, honorable.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker, sorry. In part 28, part 3, 28, is it the object or the objective and purpose of the fund?
Yes, honorable.
Chair, it's usually in legal writing, it's the object and purpose of the fund. That's the legal way of putting it in a bill. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Yeah, that was an inquiry, not an amendment. Any amendments in part 3? If further amendments are not there from the floor, then I want to propose that clause 35 as amended, that is part 3, be part of the bill. And may as many are of the opinion say aye. May as many are of that contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. Part 3, as amended, now becomes part of the bill. Part 4, Chair.
Honorable Chair, in part 4, we do not have any amendments to make. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, The committee was satisfied with part 4 as is. If we have any proposed amendments from the floor, then we are ready to consider. There being no any other amendments, I want to propose that part 4 be part of the bill as is. And may as many of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
May as many of that contrary opinion say nay. And part 4 becomes part of the bill. Part 4, Chair. Part 5, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In part 5, we are doing amendment to clause 35. And in that amendment, we are introducing a new paragraph after paragraph B. Procedure for management of revenue and income generated from technical vocational training centers. And then we are also introducing a new paragraph immediately after paragraph F to read procedure for the transition of students from closed private VTCs. So paragraph 35, 2 will read as follows. Without prejudice to the general effect of subsection 1, the county executive member may make regulation for A, procedure and criteria for center-based auditing in the public VTCs, B, operational standards for public and private VTCs within the county, C, procedure for the management of revenue and income generated from technical vocational training centers, D, continuous review, evaluation, and monitoring of policies and curriculum of the County Vocational Education and Training Committee, and ensure vocational education and training quality assurance, standards, and relevance. E, procedure for authorization of private VTCs. F, procedure for the fulfillment of the 2/3 gender rule in the composition of the County Vocational Education and Training Committee. G, participation in benefit sharing or incentive allocation mechanism. And H, procedure for the transition of students from closed private VTCs. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I ask the Honourable Member for Kubura Ward, Honourable Bill, to second.
I rise to second.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Any further amendments on part 5, which is the regulations, from the floor? If no further amendments are proposed, then I want to put a question that clause 35, part 5, which is clause 35, under delegated legislations, be part of the bill. And may as many of that opinion say aye. May as many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. And part 5, as amended, now becomes part of the bill. And yeah, Chair, we are done up to part 5. Now we go to the schedule. Any amendments on the schedule?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a committee, and from the public participation report, we did not have any amendments to make on the schedules. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honorable members, the committee did not have any amendments in the schedule, the part of the legislation, the part of establishment of the report sample. Any amendments from the floor? If we don't have any amendments from the floor, then I put a question that Schedule 1 become part of the bill. And may as many of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
And may as many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule 1 now becomes part of the bill. Honorable members, Honorable Chair, we go back to the preamble. Any amendment in the preamble?
Honorable Chair, we do not have any amendments on the preamble. Thank you.
The committee did not have any amendments in the preamble, but we could be having proposed amendments from the floor. Any amendments, members? Any amendments? If no amendments are proposed, then I put a question that the preamble becomes part of the bill, and may as many of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
And may as many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. The preamble now becomes part of the bill. Chair, long title.
Honorable Chair, we do not have any amendments in the long title. Thank you.
Honorable members, the committee did not find it necessary to amend, meaning they were satisfied with the long title of the bill, but there could be a proposed amendment coming from the floor. Any amendments? If no amendments are proposed, then I want to put a question that the long title become part of the bill, and may as many are of that opinion say aye. May as many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. The long title now becomes part of the bill. Chair, any other amendment in the bill?
Honorable Chair, we do not have any further amendments.
Honorable members, any other amendments in the bill? From first part to the first schedule?
Honorable Chair, now that we've finished making the amendments, may I move that the Kisumu County Vocational Education Training Bill 2023 as amended be reported to the County Assembly.
Members, I want to give the clerk a few minutes to print the amendments. Then we can report back to the House, because we are reverting back to the plenary. So let us give her just a few more minutes. Honorable members, the chair has moved that the bill as amended be reported to the County Assembly, and that means that we are now reverting to the plenary.
Yes, the Honorable Nason Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to report on the, give a report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023. That is Kisumu County Bill number 1 of 2023. Honorable Speaker, the committee adopted the Gletton Way, where it considered the bill part by part. During the process, the following amendments were proposed and adopted to become parts of the bill. In part 1, in the interpretation has been amended by adding the definition of the word special sitting as follows. Special sitting shall be a meeting convened upon supposition that something of an urgent nature has been suddenly arisen, which prevents a 1-month notice for its consideration being given in the ordinary way. Clause B1B has been amended by adding the phrase "and" in accordance with the competency-based training policy framework immediately after the word discrimination. Clause B1B, after an amendment, now reads as follows: that training shall be availed to all qualified persons without discrimination and in accordance with the competency-based training policy framework. In part 2, Mr. Speaker, clause 9.3 has been amended by introducing a new paragraph B as follows: without prejudice to the generality of subsection 2A above, a special meeting shall be a meeting convened upon supposition that something of an urgent nature has suddenly arisen, which prevents a 1-month notice for its consideration being given in the ordinary way and shall not exceed 4 sittings in a year. Upon introduction of the new paragraph B, the subclause 2 was renumbered as 2A and 2B. Clause 9.2, after amendment, now reads as follows: Clause 9.2A, despite subsection 1, the committee may convene special meetings where necessary. B, without prejudice to the generality of subsection 2A above, a special meeting shall be a meeting convened upon the supposition that something of an urgent nature has suddenly arisen, which prevents a 1-month notice for consideration being given in the ordinary way. Clause 11.2 has been amended by deleting clause 11.2e and introducing a subclause 11.3 as follows: that the chairperson contemplated in 2A above shall be elected from among persons appointed accordance with clause 12. Clause 14, Mr. Speaker, has been amended by renumbering the clause and introducing a new subclause 14.2, where subclause 14.2 after amendment now reads: the Board of Governors may establish daycare facilities within the VTCs whenever necessary to promote access to relevant training to breastfeeding women. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, clause 16.3d has been amended by deleting the word incompetence in 16.3d and replacing therefrom within the word incompetency. Clause 16.3d, after amendment, now reads: the county executive committee member may at any time remove a member of the board on the following grounds: D, incompetency, or then we continue with other clauses. Then clause 17.1 has been amended, Mr. Speaker, by deleting the word 14 days and replacing thereof 7 days. Clause 17.1, after amendment, now reads: the secretary of the board shall notify the director of a vacancy that occurs in the membership of the board within 7 days of the membership falling vacant. Clause 17.2 has been amended by deleting the word 21 days and replacing thereof with the word 7 days. Clause 17.2 after amendment now reads: where the director has been notified of a vacancy under this section, the director shall within 7 days present to the CEC member the notification, who shall thereafter appoint another person to fulfill that vacancy within 7 days. Clause 25A. Clause 25A has been amended by introducing the phrase at least 1 year before closure immediately after the word center. And after amendment, clause 25A now reads, inform the county executive county member of the intention to close down the vocational education and training center at least 1 year before the closure. In part 3, clause 29(2) has been amended by deleting the phrase CC member and replacing thereof with the word fund administrator. Clause 29(2) after amendment now reads, there shall be paid out of the fund any expenditure approved by the fund administrator and incurred in connection with the administration of the fund. In part 5, clause 35(2) has been amended by introducing a new paragraph immediately after paragraph B as follows. Procedure for the management of revenue and income generated from the technical vocational training centers, and further amended by introducing a new paragraph immediately after the paragraph F as follows. The procedure for the transition of students from closed VTCs, clause 35(2) after amendment now reads, that without prejudice to the general effects of subsection 1, the county executive committee member may make regulations for A, procedure and criteria for center-based auditing in the public VTCs, B, operational standards of public and private VTCs within the county, C, procedure for the management of revenue and income generated from the technical vocational training centers. D, the continuous review, evaluation, and monitoring of policies and curriculum of the county vocational education and training committees, and ensure vocational education and training quality, assurance, standards, and relevance. E, procedure for the authorization of private VTCs. F, procedure for the fulfillment of 2/3 gender rule in the composition of the county vocational education and training committee. G, participation in benefit sharing or incentive allocation mechanism. And H, procedure for the transition of students from closed private VTCs. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, it is my pleasure to present this report, hoping that the County Assembly do agree with the committee in this report. And I want to ask the Honorable Chair Education, Honorable Seth Okumu, to second.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second. I think the members agreed with the proposals that the committee had on amending the bill, and there were no much further amendments from the committee of whole coming from the members. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Thank you so much, honorable members. Now that we have received the report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, Kisumu County Bills number 1 of 2023, I want to put a question, and I'll put that as many of the opinion that the report of the Committee of the Whole House of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, Kisumu County Bills number 1 of 2023, be adopted. Say aye. As many of the contrary opinions say nay. The ayes have it, and the report of the Committee of the Whole House on the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, Kisumu County Bills number 1 of 2023, has been adopted. Honorable members, that brings us to the end of the second reading of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023. But as per our standing order, I have to put a question on the motion. And I put that as many of the opinion That the motion, the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, that is the Kisumu County Bills number 1 of 2023, second reading, with the amendments therein be adopted. Say aye. As many of the contrary opinions say nay, the ayes have it, and the motion, that is the second reading of the Kisumu County Vocational Education and Training Bill 2023, the Kisumu County Bills number 1 of 2023, have been adopted with the amendments therein today, Thursday, the 29th of June 2023, at 17:36 hours. And I want to direct that the House Business Committee considers that bill for third reading. Next order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. There is no any other business to be transacted in the order paper.
Honorable members, I want to bring to your attention that the meaning of that gap between the second reading of the bill that we have concluded and the third reading, it gives you an opportunity to look at it further, and when it will be read for the third time, it will also give you an opportunity to make further amendments, if any. So it is not the end of the bill. You still take your time, go through it, and see if there is any further amendment that can be provided. Otherwise, I had made the communications regarding the training earlier during communication time that the sports ground is open for training. I also made communication regarding tomorrow's activities, but we have gazetted the 30th of June 2023 purely for budget consideration. Honorable members, there being no any other business, the House stands adjourned until the 4th of July 2023 at 2:30 p.m. But remember, we'll be posting the gazettement of the special notice, which is tomorrow, purposely for budget consideration.